nerding out about?
All right. You know what? You threw in a name that's fairly familiar, but I can't place it.
Yeah.
What is it you're nerding out about? Who is that?
Brandon Sanderson. He is an author, best known for the Mistborn books, if you've ever heard of those. Or he finished the Wheel of Time series after Robert Jordan passed away.
Okay, you've talked to me like on a pre-show or post-show or something about it.
Yeah. So I have been contemplating working on a book. I've got a lot of thoughts on different plot points and characters and things like that I would like to put onto paper and see if anyone else likes it. But it's a creative outlet that I would like to explore. And so I reached out to my wife's cousin, because he's written several books that have gotten published. And so I asked him, when you were getting started, what were some tools or some different things that you would like, what's some advice that you would give me for as a potentially aspiring author? And one of the things that he mentioned to me,
oh, you're not asking me. Okay, fine.
Is Brandon Sanderson. He for years he has been doing a creative writing class at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. And about 4 years ago, he actually recorded his lectures and put them up on YouTube. And so there's a whole bunch of lectures of him and Robinette, the author that you...
Mary Cole Robinette?
Yeah, so she was
one of my favorites.
She was a guest instructor for a couple of those lectures as well, specifically to talk about short stories, because Brandon Sanderson does not do short stories. And so she came in to specifically talk about some of the strategies for writing short stories. But it's been a very informational lecture series that I've been going through. I'm about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through it. Each one is they're all, it's quite long. It's a long series, but I've also been listening to other authors' advice on YouTube on pitfalls and things like that, having to do with aspiring authors. But one of the things that really stuck out to me was, regardless of what information you get, as far as breaking into getting published, that you're going to have to talk to someone who just broke in, because that is a constantly changing thing. So like when Brandon Sanderson first got published, self-publishing wasn't really a thing, but that's actually a big thing nowadays.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
And so yeah, he was like, it's completely changed from when I got published, and the advice that I kept getting was completely wrong for my time as well. So he said, as far as that goes, he's not going to be very helpful, is what he openly admits. But as far as writing in and of itself, he's got a lot of great advice for upcoming writers and how to frame your, I guess thought process isn't quite right, but how you think about it analytically, the breakdown of what makes a good story versus what makes a mediocre story, and things like that. And so it's been very interesting to me, and it's definitely evoked a lot of internal thinking on where I would like this story to go that I've been contemplating. And my wife put in the chat, because I've been talking about this, my two older boys actually asked for a notebook to start writing their own books. So now they're writing their own little stories as well. Because I told my boys when they first expressed interest in writing, I was like, did you know that the author for Aragon, Christopher Paolini, he started writing Aragon when he was 15. And so I'm like, it's never too early to start if that's what you want to do. And so we'll see how far they get. But they've each written what they consider a prologue for their stories. And They are already fighting over who gets to use what character names and and stuff like that. So it's been rather cute little discussions in my house this past week about their little stories.
So is my favorite fan, little Jebediah, going to write a book of all the amazing things I learned from the Rock Out podcasting, including not pooping my pants? I know it's a really long title, but we'll work on it. I'll coach him. Is he going to do that now? Because I think it's good.
So he doesn't know how to read and write yet. He's just barely starting kindergarten, but he does want a notebook so that he can take his own notes as well. What those are going to look like, I have no idea, but I think it'll be cute to find out. So
we shall see.
I think mostly he just wants a notebook to be like his brother's, but
yeah, watch him turn out to be the best. The best there never was. There you go.
But yeah, so this past week has been interesting for you on several fronts, both personally and an anniversary. So what are you nerding out about?
So you were actually part of both of the things that I have down inadvertently somehow. So last week I talked about T-Mobile and said T-Mobile will do better. I still stand on that, but I gave them a chance to do better, and they did. They should have done quite literally done better out of the box, in my opinion. But as just a recap from last week, in case you didn't hear it, I've tried out the T-Mobile internet, right? They're pushing that across the United States pretty hard. I like my T-Mobile service with my phones. Their customer service has been fantastic in the industry compared to everything else I've had over my career of having cell service. And I did a lot of research, as Joe has been happy to point out many times, that my Comcast doesn't, sometimes it fuzzes out and everything else. And so I just got to the point where I want better internet. Well, Kurt, you're not going to get ready before you get on camera. You just flat. There's an MP3 to download. We'll catch up on that. How you doing, buddy?
I'm late.
Okay, so come here, Kurt. Nobody knew until you said something, buddy. It's
false.
Okay.
You told everyone.
Yeah.
Joe.
This isn't my first rodeo.
So right now we're in the nerd.
Stop with ippity dippity.
We're in the ippity dippity nerding out section. So if you want to throw, although I think you're probably going to talk about the game you recommended to me this week. But whatever you want to talk about, I'm telling the story of T-Mobile and how I was trying out their internet, as I talked about last week, just a recap, and it just didn't work, right? And we talked about that at length. We even talked about it more after in the Patreon. And I ended up just putting it off for a few days. And someday this week, I don't remember what day it was, I ended up calling the number and saying, hey, I need to deal with it. And T-Mobile definitely has customer service outside the country. But I will say every time, Ring Central as well, working with them as a separate company at work, same thing. Everybody's outside the country, but everybody on those levels are very professional. They speak very good English. The only thing is a little bit lost in translation when you're trying to give context for something. Other than that, it's actually been really good. I just have to slow down, be a little bit more patient, and try a different way to communicate in a few instances. So ultimately, I'm on one phone on hold with T-Mobile while they're trying to fix my modem that's in a box out in the backyard, sitting right next to me as I'm smoking a cigar, sitting on hold. Joe calls me on the other phone. And so I was like, yeah, I might have to get off the phone real quick. Anyway, back and forth. He heard it all go down. They convinced me to stick with him a little bit better. And here's how T-Mobile did better. Like I said, dialed the 611 number, told them my situation, told them it just wasn't working. And they kept trying to say, oh, we need to do some tests. Like, look, it's not hooked up. I unhooked it like 4 days ago. It's in a box. I was just calling to return it. Like, well, if you don't mind, and I said, you know what? I'm in a good mood. I understand part of your job is to keep me here as a customer, but I'm also going to tell you, I love my phones. I was surprised at how it didn't work. And I would like to give you a fair shot. I would like to really test this out and give you a chance. So it was about 40 minutes on the phone while they did things and came back. They said, okay, go back in, plug it back up. We'll call you back in 30 minutes. I said, well, give me an hour because it might take me a little bit longer to hook things up. They said, okay, an hour. I went back in, hooked it up, and instantly it did a firmware update. And then it reset itself. Then instantly it did a second firmware update and reset itself. I'm like, okay, all right. And then after that, it was stable. plugged it in, just went right into my mesh network and tested it on my wife's computer. Speed test instantly. I'm just going to make up the numbers. I don't remember. It's like 400 down and 70 up. Got on my Netflix, instantly opened, which was one of the things that wouldn't work before. It was smooth as crap. Went to my Roku box. It does a basic speed test. It's not a real one. And Roku went, yeah, great signal. 170 MB, whatever their number was. So there.
Right.
Came out to the studio, speed test. Told my kid that when he went out to stream, said, hey, dude, push it. Do everything you can. Watch your stream back later just to make sure, see if it didn't lag. And honestly, every speed test has been almost the same no matter what device. Hardwired, Wi-Fi, mesh across the board. It's about 400 to 500 down consistently and 50 to 70 up. So I'm happy right now. And we still have a few more days of seeing an issue. The very next morning, I guess it's Monday, because I think Tuesday morning, my wife called me and said, the internet's down. And I was going to talk her through it because I'd left the Comcast and everything just hooked up. All they would have to do is unplug one cable, plug it into the other. You're done.
Right.
And I was very disappointed in hearing that, but she wasn't able to, she was not available to go through it. So I called Oakland. Turns out the power strip tripped for some reason. So we took it off the power strip, put it directly into the wall instead. Hadn't had an issue since. So
good.
So, and then last night, I got to celebrate, man. I never stopped smiling. I got on at like 7:30, and until about midnight, I was just on cloud nine. Where I got my start is a show called Two Guys, One Brain. And back in 2004, I started doing segments for them. And 20 years later, and they did 500 episodes. And I was on most of them as a producer of segments and those kind of things. And I was on their last show that they referenced last night live. I was always a big part of it. I became and stayed a big part of their show. And then that launched my digital media career, basically. So 20 years in the making, they came back on with me. And my buddy Kevin Destruction, Kurt, you'll like this part. So Kevin Destruction, who also helped me get my start back then, we did stuff together. He wrote and performed the song from the Helicarrier, that Avenged song.
Oh, yeah.
That's him. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I reminded him last night that we used that song on that show. Brian Ibbett and I used it for 4 or 5 years, however long we were on. And so like thousands of people got to hear it and stuff. And he was just blown away. And it was such a good time. Joe came out. Kurt couldn't be bothered. It's okay. But no, I give grief. It's recorded. It's on the YouTube channel, DC Digital Media Track. It's out there. I've got it, the audio recorded. I'm going to put it as a podcast. It is rated R, but as Joe pointed out, most of my life is rated R. So that's to be understood.
Yep.
But it just the enjoyment I had talking to them again, just Phil pointed out I didn't stop smiling the whole time. Hugh called me right after, and we spent another hour and a half because he was there in the early days, and he's a huge fan of all that stuff. And we just geeked out for another hour after that. It was possibly one of it was possibly one of the most fun experiences I've had in my career in a while.
That's
the most fun experience I will have is when I don't have to set it up myself and somebody else does that for me, but that's okay. but that's mine, Kurt. So you brought Disney's Balto back, and then you want to talk about the magicians and Ember the god.
Yep. So I'm in on this kick right now, but it's casual games meet roguelikes. And so I mean everybody agrees that Slay the Spire is just an awesome game.
Yeah, I re-downloaded it the other day on my Xbox Game Pass on my PC.
Yeah. So and it is a great game, but there's this game that released a few months ago called Balatro, and I talked about it a little bit before, but it's a poker based roguelike deck builder, which sounds completely bizarre, but it's completely engaging and compelling. And
we see you on Discord, and like tonight you were awake because obviously you were in your car, but it says Kurt's away playing Balatro.
It's because I never shut it down. It's like always there. So the cool part about it, the dude who wrote this, one of the coolest things is when you go to start a game, it allows you the opportunity to put in a seed for the random number generator. But what that allows you to do is play with other people using It might be the third time. I don't care. It's great.
I know it is,
Yeah.
but you know, we don't
But-
stop you because it is exactly what you're nerding
Yeah,
out about right now.
But the cool thing is like you can enter pretty much any 8 characters and seed the game's random number generator. But it allows you to do things like little competitions with other people because you all start with the same deck and you all start with the same layout and everything. And then what
I
you
don't
make for
understand this. What seed? What is?
so random numbers, the way that they're generated is typically, and Joe understands this from a programmatical standpoint, but typically you can generate random numbers based on an initial number seed. So the seed is kind of the thing that plants the random number.
Okay,
Sure.
Which is why in most video games, gamers will find a way to rig the RNG.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Because
Yeah,
it's not.
all right.
It's not
RNGesus, that's what
truly.
you should say.
It's not truly random.
Never. Yeah. So but this one, they're transparent about it and they say, okay, here's a place to enter the seed. But what's really, like I said, what's really cool is like on Discord, I did it with Phil and I did it with a couple other guys, where you go in and you both bring up your game screen. And we go, okay, so we're going to use for a seed this week, Rock God. And you type in Rock God, and then you have exactly the same game as I do. And the only difference is how we play.
So we type in the same seed, so we have the same. Okay.
You have the same cards. You have the same layout. You have the same prize
So it's
pool.
playing together without playing together.
Correct.
I like it. All right.
And you each make, because when you play cooperatively with somebody, you go, oh, I would go right, and they go left.
Yeah.
Well, you can go right. And you
and
can
then be like, you messed up, you jerk.
Yep. And so when I'm running these little tournaments, and I've just started doing it, but when I'm running these challenges, first person to beat the game, which is 8 rounds, and if you get to the end, a lot of times you don't get to the end, but the first person to win the game wins the challenge.
Okay, so I did talk to Phil about this slightly.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm over here. And I barely make it to like the 4th round if I'm lucky." And Kurt's like on round 98. What's the end?
What it is you go through 8 rounds, and once you hit the 8th round and you beat the 8th round, then technically you've beaten that level or that deck. But then it goes into endless mode, and you just keep going as long as you can, and generate like just crazy numbers if you can.
Balloons. Balloons. I do that on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very cool. And honestly, once I'm going away this weekend, but once I get back, and frankly during my recovery from my surgery, I'll be if I'm up to it, I'll be starting to run some of these Balatro challenges / tournaments in Discord.
Okay.
So for people who own the game is $15. All right. So
in this economy, that's half a carton of eggs.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. But I get more enjoyment out of it.
We've talked about that, of course.
So it's a pretty cool game. But in playing that and watching YouTube videos about it, I've run across this other game called Emberward. And Emberward is a roguelike, tower defense game. And I've just dipped my toe in it because I don't want to get sucked into it like I'm sucked into Balatro.
We dip.
And so what it is it's a regular tower defense game. However, you do 2 things. You put guns and turrets up like you normally would in most tower defense games.
And you build with Tetris pieces?
You build the path with Tetris pieces. And the Tetris pieces are what hold your guns and turrets and things like that.
This promo video
Okay.
1.2x speed or something? It's fast little video.
It's a fast little game too.
Okay.
And so
And it looks like, just as a side thing, it looks like there's a demo for free available on Steam for it. So
there is. So but what's really cool about it, and the roguelike aspect of it, is they put down these power tiles, and you put the Tetris pieces on the power tiles, and those float to the top of the Tetris piece, and then you put your turrets on those power tiles to activate that bonus.
Okay.
And it is crazy.
Yeah, we're playing the demo on the stream right now. So if you watch the YouTube video, you can see, or go to Steam like we did and look at it.
Yep.
You see it. But yeah, I see the glowing boxes out of the power. Is it really this fast, or is the demo sped up?
I think. Well, I think you can make it faster. It's not. It's the initial one, at least at the very beginning. It's not that fast. But the reason I brought it up at all was because I know that cool. Charles loves tower defense games.
I really do,
and I know you play a lot of Bloons. And look, Bloons is awesome. Like, I played the crap out of Bloons.
Yeah.
Just Super Monkey Ball or Super Monkey guns are just like crazy. So yeah, I really do enjoy a tower defense game, but it's a tough balance because some of them are too hard. Like, they get too hard too fast. And so it just sucks the life out of it for me.
And Random Kid asked, did we get a sponsor? Because we showed the video and everything. Yeah. No, but thanks for mentioning that, Random Kid. We're open to sponsorships, and we are, as long as, and we have to like it, right? Because that's the heart of what we do, is we talk about what we love. We discuss what we're struggling with, those kind of things. But yeah, no, I'll give that a shot. That I do like a good tower defense game. And funny story, Joe was talking about writing books and asking for help, and he mentioned our friend Mary Cole Robinette, who I got to interview last year and hang out with at Chattacon, which we'll be going back to this year, as will Tara Burton. But nice. Mary Cole Robinette, she wrote, I think voiced some of it, but she wrote the story behind the DG2 tower defense game that I first played on like PlayStation 3 network, and that was one of my first tower defense games, and loved it. So we got to talk about that at the con. It was a lot of fun. So no, man, that's cool. I will definitely look at. So okay, I'm just going to ask you for the rest of the year, stop playing games. Stop finding games that you want me to buy, because I want to buy them, and I got a lot of things to do, man. It's not the money, it's the time.
Right. So if you're going to buy one of them, buy Balatro at this point. It's just it's that good, and yeah. You only have to be into poker a little bit. It's kind of like Yahtzee, where you have to just kind of understand that Yahtzee hands are poker hands, and that's kind of how it works.
And in 2025, Kurt is going to start Balatro Anonymous.
No, I'm not, because they've already announced a game engine update in 2025.
Oh, so. Okay, so 2026.
That's fine. Yeah, let's see how this goes. What was it? Knob Creek, Animal Island, Dr. Moreau's Island. What's the show you and Phil did? Dr. Moreau's Crazy Animal Island. Something.
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, sure.
Nook's Tavern.
Yeah, we'll see how. Yeah, we'll see how much you play that.
You know what? Animal Crossing. We didn't fail Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing failed us. Animal Crossing did not come through with their promise, and that was they told us that they were going to have updates for 3 years, and in essence, they had updates for 1 year. Any meaningful updates for one year. They kept the game going. The game's still going. And they come up with a couple little cosmetic things here and there.
Money grabs.
But hardly money grabs. That's the thing. They didn't even try to monetize very much.
Oh,
it's just
okay.
Yeah, it was just it wasn't great. They did try to monetize with one add-on DLC, and I had already bailed by then. But Animal Crossing, solid game. hit at exactly the right time at the height of COVID, and just you know, sold better than almost any other Nintendo title.
Well, because of the timing. It's a game that we never would have bought probably in this house, but because it was COVID and because we had some cash to spend, my girls wanted to play it. Like all three, my wife and two daughters all wanted to play it. So we did. And I think my wife played it the longest because she was collecting for everybody, but everybody gave up on it. Yeah, type of deal.